Chilling Water, Trailblaze, not a huge problem for Guzzlord.
Guzzlord could be one to watch going forwards, but there are two more players that are ready to put their mark on this tournament. On the left side of the screen, you can see ASPRESCELTO. We have a Raging TAZ on the right side of the screen. Now, these players are friends. They compete together. They have competed in locals together. And I believe they have actually played against each other already last week with these teams. So it's going to be a real test for them, a challenge as to who can come out on top when it really matters.
Honestly, I think that's one of the most exciting things is playing against your friends, playing against locals, because you've played against them a lot of times, and when you're actually on that big stage, it feels like a lot of mind games. I feel like there's more mind games than anything. You know that they know what you know.
Now, I'm just having a look at how ASPRESCELTO's got on recently, because I remember once upon a time in Grassroots, this was one of the top players in the format. And I think that he has got a medal before in Warsaw back in the day, actually back in a tournament that I competed a long, long time ago in Poland.
How did you do that one?
I came second in that one. I didn't quite get gold. I don't have a gold medal or a gold trophy like you, Eric. But ASPRESCELTO is a player that is very, very good, but hasn't quite had the success in the Play Pokemon circuit. Raging TAZ is a player that is going to try and be a thorn in his side. They might be friends, but this is everything to play for here in the Stuttgart Regional Championships.
He's actually running one of your favorites, the King Gambit, in the Great League meta. What do you think about that?
I really, really like King Gambit. It's such an interesting Pokemon with Dark and Steel typing. Not a popular Pokemon because it doesn't necessarily have the bulk in the Great League format. It does have some resistances that are really helpful, but also some weaknesses that can hold it back. But there is no fighter on the side of ASPRESCELTO, so the double weakness to fighting type damage is not a risk for Raging TAZ. Can the King Gambit take advantage? It resist Shadow Claw from Feraligatr. It resists Metal Sound from the Empoleon. It resists both the Swift and the Icy Wind from the Wigglytuff. It resists the entire moveset from Venusaur. It resists Dragon Breath and Sky Attack from Altaria. And then Univern Stunfisk is probably the one matchup that it definitely doesn't want to see.
I wonder if you play into that and understand that maybe we just go after the Univern Stunfisk and we bring something like the Cradily. Of course, Empoleon's going to be a little bit of a risk. Venusaur, I'm not really sure how that plays out, but I'd love to see how Venusaur can do, honestly. That's one of my favorite Pokemon in this meta.
I wonder if you bring your own Univern Stunfisk, knowing that the Venusaur is quite threatened by King Gambit, Altaria, and Corviknight.
Yeah,
Venusaur could be tricky for ASPRESCELTO to bring, which makes Univern Stunfisk a little bit easier.
That's right. Wigglytuff, though, is going to be a menace because your Steel type, Corviknight, is not too fantastic in the Zero Shield scenario, and King Gambit, obviously, it's neutral with the Charms. Lead is going to be actually Wigglytuff into the Altaria. Fantastic start for ASPRESCELTO.
Yeah, this is a great lead for the Fairy and normal type Wigglytuff. It is running Charm, so Altaria is going to get out of there. The Univern Stunfisk comes through. Raging TAZ clearly willing to use it as a safe swap, knowing that Venusaur is unlikely on the side of ASPRESCELTO. And so Mud Bomb is now going to be reached first as Wigglytuff stays in, perhaps leaning into that Icy Wind before it dips.
I love that call you made, right? That he's going to bring the Univern Stunfisk because you know the Venusaur is not super likely. Because of that, he was more willing to play a risky lead in Altaria and just swap the Univern Stunfisk as kind of a crush because, again, what do you really do here? You can't swap to Empoleon or Feraligatr. This is obviously going to free them up in the back, but it's going to mean that Raging TAZ doesn't have his Altaria aligned with that Wigglytuff.
Now, ASPRESCELTO is not going to bring either of his Water-type Pokemon into the Univern Stunfisk. He's going to lean on the Wigglytuff. And in the Zero Shield scenario, especially with that head start, Wigglytuff looks like it is in a great position to take out this Univern Stunfisk. Raging TAZ is going to let it go. And now Altaria is in a position where it can avoid a Wigglytuff. Cradily will come in here, but it looks like ASPRESCELTO's...
It would be one turn behind.
He's going to try and instantly swap into this Feraligatr.
Oh! And now this is not great because we're not only misaligning ourselves by putting the Cradily away from the Empoleon, but now our Feraligatr is forced to go for Hydro Cannons.
Hydro Cannon coming in, it will win Charge Attack priority. It isn't super effective. It's great against the Rock typing of Cradily, but resisted by the Grass typing. That means it does neutral damage. Raging TAZ no-shields it and is now going to go for this Rock Tomb. It's gone unshielded by ASPRESCELTO. He recognizes that it was unlikely to be a Grass Knot, and so Feraligatr holds on. Both players retain both of their shields.
I love that. It was a good attempt at a catch, but ASPRESCELTO so patient. We go for the Hydro Cannon bait. I wonder if this is necessary because we can actually get to another Ice Beam.
Do you just preserve your Hydro Cannon going back into Empoleon?
I think we can get into the Empoleon here, but with 2 shields advantage, I think the Empoleon can clean this game up. We have a Hydro Cannon loaded on that Feraligatr, and the Wigglytuff is obviously still has a little bit of HP left, so it could be awkward for the Altaria to deal with in the end game if any swaps occur here. Of course, Drill Peck not going to do a ton of damage. That was actually a charge attack priority, so this Flamethrower is going to need to be shielded. At the same time, I wonder if we need to go for Sky Attacks here to get any advantage that we can.
Yeah, Altaria now with access to Flamethrower doing neutral damage against the Empoleon, draws a shield from ASPRESCELTO. ASPRESCELTO paces so quickly to those Drill Pecks. This one would potentially threaten a knockout, so Raging Taz is going to put up his shield.
Drill Peck comes down, but the Empoleon is now dry on energy. If we can land this Flamethrower and do a couple more Dragon Breaths, I wonder if we can take it out with that Grass Knot, but a nice no-shield call here, understanding that that Cradily has a Grass Knot loaded, and it's going to do a little bit more damage than this Flamethrower here. Can we reach a Sky Attack? This is where it would have been critical to bait earlier.
And now it's on charge attack priority, and this is going to be tricky because Acid is double resisted by the Empoleon, which means that it probably won't go down to 5 Acids from this Cradily. Empoleon can just stay in and likely reach an attack, so Raging Taz recognizes that he is going to... There's no point throwing an attack here. He's going to lose this game, number 1. ASPRESCELTO taking advantage in this winner's round 2.
Empoleon just seems so strong there. Raging Taz couldn't really afford to bring, I guess, yeah, Unova Stunfisk had to be swapped into that Wigglytuff, and after it was neutralized, we couldn't really bring anything into that Empoleon.
But you make a really good point that when both shields were up, if Raging Taz had gone for a Sky Attack bait, he would have been able to reach that final Sky Attack just before the Empoleon would have reached a Drill Peck. So that's definitely something that Raging Taz can consider as he prepares for game number 2, but the advantage on the side of ASPRESCELTO. He leads this series 1-0.
Something interesting about that Altaria Empoleon matchup is in the 2-shield scenario, you kind of just go straight Sky Attack, because you're going to need 2 attacks to knock out regardless. You can't really Dragon Breath and Flamethrower that Empoleon down, so you might as well just knock out with 2 Sky Attacks and the Dragon Breaths. However, I think this is starting to beg for a Venusaur pick from ASPRESCELTO. We ran a line last game, which Altaria, of course, is very dominant against Venusaur, but the flexibility that Unova Stunfisk has may be something that ASPRESCELTO wants to punish in this next game.
So if you were to try and construct a line with Venusaur, what kind of thing would you consider?
So if we need to bring the Wigglytuff with the Venusaur, of course. I think we just swap the Wigglytuff, honestly. We play something risky.
And you just play, you play fine into Corviknight,
Yeah.
I get Wigglytuff's actually fine into Corviknight.
And the Kingambit as well, it's no problem. And if a Corviknight's counter-swapping a Wigglytuff, we're not too concerned about that. At the same time, I don't think Corviknight's that great of a bring because it's just not as good as the Altaria in this matchup, and gives us less outs against something like the Unova Stunfisk, for example.
And if you're Raging Taz, how do you approach this next game? You know you want to still bring the Unova Stunfisk. Altaria didn't work out for you. Could you make an adjustment to that Pokemon?
We swapped it pretty shamelessly the other game, the Unova Stunfisk. So I wonder if we kind of just... maybe we don't do that again, because it may be obvious to ASPRESCELTO that this is the strategy that he wants to take. Risky lead with Unova Stunfisk as the bat.
The players look locked in. We actually see that Venusaur in the lead, so there's definitely not going to be a Unova Stunfisk safe swap for Raging Taz. He leads a Galarian Corsola. This isn't a matchup that we see a ton of in the Great League format, but Frenzy Plant is such a brilliant attack for Venusaur. It will do a lot of damage if it lands, and I wonder if in a 2-shield scenario, Venusaur can come out on top here.
I honestly think that's possible, and if that happens, how do you actually deal with this Venusaur on the back end? Cradily will have a very awkward asset. Oh, he actually goes for the no-shield here. Maybe trying to grab this shield advantage. I like this play as well. Goes into the Feraligatr. This is amazing because as you're Raging Taz, it's very hard to make this counter swap. You throw off this Nightshade, kind of revealing that you don't have a superior answer in the back. That means no Kingambit is going to be available here.
But now you need to come in with your Unova Stunfisk, right?
Absolutely. We can tank this Hydro Cannon no problem and throw this Mud Bomb off right before this next one, as this is charge attack priority. I love this play by Raging Taz, as we're guaranteeing that ASPRESCELTO can't get off that second Hydro Cannon.
Yeah, Hydro Cannon coming through, super effective, does a massive amount of damage to the Unova Stunfisk. Charge attack priority, as you mentioned, Discharge or Mud Bomb here would be enough to take out the Feraligatr, so a shield goes up for ASPRESCELTO.
I think we're going to try to throw this Hydro Cannon off, and then our timer will be up. we may be able to go back into that Venusaur and then get some Vine Whips in.
Yeah, timer on the side of ASPRESCELTO will expire first, so Venusaur can come in, but the Unova Stunfisk goes down, and now look at this matchup for this Empoleon. Steel, super effective against the rock typing of Cradily. Hydro Cannon will do neutral damage because of that rock typing as well, so a shield goes up immediately for Raging Taz.
This is where staying in against that Feraligatr and throwing the Nightshade is going to cost Raging Taz, right? Because now you only got rid of the Switch Clock, and you can go into Corsola now, but it may be too little too late. The Empoleon's way too far ahead on energy, and it's just going to Metal Sound this Corsola all the way down. We can't get to the Nightshade, and that, I think that's going to be it.
That is punishing for Raging Taz, and ASPRESCELTO's taking full advantage of this Empoleon. We've seen it before in this tournament already, and now it is really shining here. That incredible farm down against the Galarian Corsola. Hydro Cannon lands. Here comes the second one. Raging Taz probably knows that there's not a lot he can do. He's not even going to shield it. Hydro Cannon takes ASPRESCELTO through this winners round 2.
Venusaur was such an incredible bring there, because against Corsola, tanking that Nightshade is really fantastic, as when we guarantee the shield advantage, the Empoleon Feraligatr can kind of run wild in the back. As that Unova Stunfisk is completely overloaded, there's no actual way to deal with both of those. Cradily, of course, getting stuck on the Empoleon, not what Raging Taz was looking for. And ASPRESCELTO is going to be looking to try to make his mark